Welcome to Free Range Flock. We were once the latchkey kids who came home to an empty house after school. We were feral, resilient, cynical, and innovative. Older than Google. Our teenage faces were never posted on social media. The internet was just an idea in our youth. Now we are older, wiser, and thriving. Our independent ways will continue to serve us. We plan to keep defying the odds, and we will carve our own path with grace, with humor, with joy, our way. We've been through some stuff. We will continue to keep pushing, and we are not going anywhere. The former latchkey kids are now the free range flock.
Sasa, do you find that you're being more reflective now than you have in the past?
Oh, yeah. I think as we get older, I think that's just human nature. We have more to look back, back on. But also, I think there's that sense of mortality that we all have to face. And at least in my world, in my head, it's what I do. It's just kind of like, I'm not going to be here forever. I want to think about the bigger questions.
Right. So one of my favorite things to do is to get together with one or more of my girlfriends and just kind of like sit and talk. And it's funny how like in my 20s and 30s, it seemed more surface kind of things that we were talking about, like fashion or, music, even though those are important things. But now it's like the bigger things, like we're all experiencing big life events and we're trying to unpack it with each other. And I always find that when I bring up questions like this and talk about it, that I always leave feeling changed and feeling much more in tune with where I need to go. So I thought we could spend an episode just kind of talking about some of these reflective questions. And they're not meant to be hard, and they're not meant to be, depressing or anything like that, but just kind of like having you reflect and just see where other people are. And I've invited Jen to join us today because, Jen is my honesty corner person. But just, as we're going through midlife and we're our 50s and our 60s, we have a lot of demands on us from work and home. But as free rangers, we need to like really think the bigger thoughts now and like be much more purposeful with our time. For example, we have, sometimes I feel like I'm on this merry-go-round when it comes to work and like climbing the ladder, whatever. Can I leave a unique mark on the world? And there's a lot going on in my head. So I feel like talking about it and having these questions and answering them out loud is helpful. It's kind of like we're kind of unpacking, as people say. Right, I'm going to unpack that a little bit. But just, what adventures am I not taking? What boundaries am I not setting? What risk should I be taking? How am I making my life more meaningful? These are questions I need to be asking. Like, am I being fearless? Am I being, who I want to be? So I have come up and I've actually found some questions for us to answer during this episode, and Jen's going to be here too, unpacking them. But these are things that hopefully whoever's listening, you're out there, the free rangers, that you're thinking about them too, and that you're sitting with people that you trust and you're talking about them as well, because your loved ones need to know your answers.
Yes.
And help you explore, like, are you truly being honest with yourself here, and are you going as deep as you can? Now's the time to be reflective. So I thought we could spend this episode just talking about being reflective.
Awesome.
Yay. Today we're going to do something a little different and focus on some reflective questions, something that I feel like a lot of people our age are thinking about and maybe not thinking about out loud. And so I thought we could go through this exercise with Jen Barton here. Yay! Jen Barton's here to help us to go through just a couple of reflective questions. It's always good to kind of take some toll and understand yourself. And so I'm going to throw out some questions, ladies, that we're all going to take turns answering. And just be honest and share as much as you want. Just know that you're a microphone and people are listening. So be as honest as you like. And so I'm just going to throw out the first one. Hopefully it's our easiest one we start with. Well, we'll see. You're going to give me faces here, but we'll see. What makes you feel alive and the most present in your life right now?
I do not have a profound answer for that. But the thing that makes me the happiest and most present is when I'm just with someone I really love and care about, preferably outside, and just being with them.
Right.
No phones, no TVs, no deep, dark questions, unless they just come up.
Yeah.
But just to be in the moment with someone I care about. As I get older, I feel like my circle of friends or people that are important to me gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right.
And that gets more intense and more important.
Right.
And the rest of it, I just don't care about.
Right.
And so to me, and this might be because I just came back from a week vacation at the beach with my husband, but it was nice to just not have to deal with the world in general and the day to day and going to my job, which I like my job. It's not even that. But again, just being with the people I care about, preferably outside.
I do like outside.
And again, it's fall, so I love being outside. So that's it for me. It's nothing profound or earth-shattering or earth-changing.
Dude, that's important. That's important. That's pretty profound.
I think I would agree 100%. I think, surrounding yourself with people you care about is super important for me as well. And then I include my animals with that, because I'm a dog mom, so I have 2 dogs, and my big boy he's a cuddly dog, and they force you to be in the moment. And my brain tends to bounce around a lot. And so having something like a dog or a person there to help you ground, I think is helpful. And being outside is also a really great way to ground yourself. Mindfulness is the thing that I think connects all of that, I think all of our answers, because we have to be mindful in order to be present.
Right.
And that sometimes that means just taking a deep breath and, breathe in, breathe out, notice the things around you. Something that works for panic attacks, not that I'm saying I have a lot of those, but when I do, it's kind of like, okay, what can you see? 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can smell, or 1 thing you can touch, things that take you out of that moment of panic and spiral and help center you in that moment.
Right. So my answers are the same as your answers, in that being with people that I love and having real conversations without electronics around. I think I'm in a transition, and that for a long time I always put work in there and just said, doing great work and being great at work has always made me feel alive. And I'm transitioning away from going no. Being with people I love is the most important thing, and it's now becoming much more centered than it ever has before. I'm the type of person that would work, and then my loved ones would get the remnants of it, and I'm like, I got to reverse that. I got to flip it. I got to make sure that the people that I care about get the best of me, and then work gets the rest. And when you pass away, they don't go, they did this, and they were, it's your loved ones who are the ones who are going to remember you and carry you on. So this is a question that I've been thinking a lot lately of, and I think I've finally got it. I'm getting it right. So definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, that's definitely, if it's a question that if you have not sat down and reflected in a real way, you need to sit down and go, what's really making me happy and alive and feel more present? All right. So now, hopefully this is an easier question. I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like these are easier questions, but maybe they're not. So what habits or patterns or beliefs are you holding on to that are keeping you from living your best life? So what's holding you back that you're thinking about letting go?
That's a hard question.
And I feel like I've already answered it, because I'm letting go of my need to make work center. That's something that I'm deliberately letting go.
Yeah.
So I kind of answered that already with my last answer. But then I'm also like, I sat down with someone who was helping me be reflective, and he was like, you do all this for work. What are you doing for you? Like, what is Amy doing for herself that's just for sheer joy? And I literally could not answer it. I said, does a shower work? Does a shower count? Does sleep work? He's like, no. Just tell me something. And I'm like, I just couldn't answer it. So
I can't answer that either.
Yeah, I realized that I need something that's just mine. And so that is something that I'm working on actively right now, is finding something that's just Amy, and just I do it for sheer joy, and I don't have to like be judged by it. I don't have to even talk about it. It's just something I do for me.
I think one of the things that I struggle with, and it comes from being a pleaser, is what other people think. And that's obviously you have to retain a little bit of that. I mean, in order to be a functioning human in society. But at the same time, it's like, why should I care if somebody likes the shirt I'm wearing, or whether my hair is normal, or do you know what I mean, or whatever?
Your hair looks great.
My hair is crazy. Oh, I feel like a cat lady. But anyway, so letting go of that like expectation that other people are going to like me, and I think that that's part of, again, being a people pleaser, and I've always been that. But as I've gotten older, it is getting easier. But that's probably one of my biggest struggles, is just doing what I know is the right thing, and for me and for my family, and then just like to hell with everyone else.
Exactly.
Well, similarly, I would say, and listening to you talk, two things popped into my head. One, about being a pleaser, and believe it or not, I am one of those. And trying to let go of this obligation I feel to my family, to just drop everything and go whenever, they say jump, I say how high, and learning to put boundaries around the demands from them, especially as I'm dealing with some challenges with my aging mother and my sister, who we're tag teaming, taking care of her, but taking care of my mother. But she has her own challenges with time as well. And so I was like, well, fine, I'll do it. Well, know what? Guess what?
Yeah.
If you're going to be protective of your time, I'm going to be protective of my time, and we can coordinate this as best we can, instead of me just saying, oh, I gotta stop everything and go help because nobody else can. And if nobody else does, that leaves me. Well, guess what? Maybe nobody else goes.
Yeah.
And so letting go of that and learning, yes, my mother is having some challenges, but she's a grown woman.
Yep.
And my sister's a grown woman and I'm a grown woman. And between the three of us, we're just going to have to make do.
Right.
Because I have my time that's important to me. So that's one thing. The other thing you were talking about, Sara, with regard to what other people think, surfacely, I would have said, I don't care what other people think. But I recently have gone through an issue with a skin problem that covers my entire legs. And I'm someone who loves being outside and loves going to the pool and all of that. And I wouldn't wear shorts. I wouldn't wear anything that showed my legs. And I thought, this is really ridiculous. And when I started getting on a treatment for it, it still looked horrible. But I was like, you know what? Why am I keeping myself from being in the sun, which will help, and being in this pool, which will help, out of vanity? And so for me, that was something that I just in the last few months have started to learn to refocus. Is that appearance issue. If I'm happy with my appearance, and no, I'm not about the legs, but but if I'm okay with it, does it matter what other people think? I know that I'm not like a diseased person who's going to infect the world if someone sees my legs. So anyway, that might have been too personal, but
no,
it's fine.
But it's one of those things where it's like, when you were talking about the shirt or the hair or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I just went through this without my legs.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of free rangers are out there going through the same thing, because I'm going through the same thing, because I have an aging mom, and I'm finding that I'm the only kid in town. My brothers live in other states, so they logically cannot be there to do things. And there's been that guilt I've been processing of, well, I need to like jump and be there. But my mom and I don't have a healthy relationship. So I have learned to really set some clear boundaries with her. Like, you cannot call me in the middle of the day and say, I need you to drop everything, come here, because I can't get the cat litter out of my car. And I'm like, cat litter can wait till the next day. But to her, that's an emergency, and I need to drop everything. And I've been practicing that. So that's something that I feel like I'm getting better at, and setting those boundaries. And like you said, she is a grown woman, and she can, if she's going to live all by herself, there's things that she has to be able to do. And yeah. So I've learned that as well.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
I know how hard it is for you to set boundaries with
Yes.
her. And I'm so glad that you are doing it.
Yes, and it takes time. It does take time, but you get there. So it's been lovely.
It's hard to set boundaries with your parents.
But I think that, and I've actually had this conversation with other people, free range blockers who also deal with what you talked about with your sister, and that not everyone can show up the way you show up. So I remember when my dad was going through a hard time, and I was just like, I felt like my brothers were putting too much pressure on me. And it didn't come from a place of they didn't love me and didn't trust me. I think part of it was that they were feeling guilt that they couldn't do the things because they were so far away. And I started feeling resentment, like I'm there every day at lunch to make sure he's eating and getting bathed and this, and they're just coming into town once a year and like looking at him. And I had to get to the other side of that guilt and go, you know what? They cannot show up the way I can show up. And I have to let go of that frustration and let that be. And they showed up the way they can show up. And it's hard because you're like, I'm doing all this. What are you doing? And they can't. You just logically can't. And it's okay. When my father was passing and he was in hospice, my dad did not look like my dad.
No, he doesn't.
He physically did not look like my dad. And my brothers could not handle it. Like they had a hard time just being in the room. And so, and I was like, why aren't you staying? Why aren't you like, I was there every day, 10 hours a day, because I didn't want him to pass alone. And I was like, why aren't you guys here? Why aren't you like dropping everything to be here at the end? Because they couldn't do it. Yeah. And I could not, and I realized later that they weren't built for that, but I was. And they kept thanking me, like, thank you, because I had the ability to do that. I can't hold any kind of frustration with them because I know they can't do that. Like when my mom passes, they won't be able to do the same thing either. But I'm strong enough to do that. That's one of my gifts. I'm going to make sure that a loved one's going to have my hand in their hand when they pass. Right. So I can do that. So yeah, letting go of that.
It is. It's similarly, my sister and I bring very different talents to taking care of my aging mother. And we're both there. It's not a situation of one of us not being there, but we are there in very different ways. Very different ways. And she and my mom have a struggling relationship anyway. And so the communication, like she will call me and say, you need to make sure Mom, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. That's between you and Mom. So dealing with your sibling, you and your siblings' relationship while that's happening, and trying to understand what each of you are bringing to the table in the process of the aging parent, and honoring that has been it's still something that my sister and I are working through. But I think both of us are recognizing how to better do that dance.
Yeah. Right. And it is definitely a dance. And I definitely want to say that my little brother gained all the stars and he earned his wings because he was so good and he was so there. A lot like what you described. You know, he was checking on them almost daily. Yeah. And I just couldn't because I wasn't there. Right. I wasn't in town. But it's, you're right. It's different skill sets. It's different relationships. And we do have to acknowledge that not everyone is going to have the same relationship with their dying parent. I hate to say it that way.
But I mean, I think this goes back to the question that we're talking about, like habits and beliefs. Like you have to let those frustrations go, and you have to kind of own up about how I can be in this relationship, and I can't expect the same expectations I'm putting on myself that others are going to do that too.
Right,
so
exactly.
You got to let that go. You got to like talk about it and let it go.
For sure.
That question got really deep. That went, which was lovely, and it needs to go deep. But now I'm going to flip it, and maybe it's going to be a little bit more happy. Let's go a happy place. How do you stay excited about your life? Like, that wake up and you're excited. Where do you stay excited? How do you stay excited? You both are kind of looking like, what?
No,
you're excited about your life.
Well, I'm thinking about excitement and happy, and those to me are not always the same thing.
True.
I'm happy because I think I'm in a good place in my life. I like my job. I love my home. I love my family. I have great friends. So there's a lot of things that make me happy. But sometimes the day-to-day makes it really hard to be excited.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're so busy, and there's so many things that weigh on you. Just being a human being and having a life and being an adult, and so like going to work and doing chores around the house and paying bills and dealing with money and all those things don't make me excited.
Right.
But I'm happy in my life. The things that make me excited are experiencing new things.
Yeah.
For me, that's one of my biggest joys is like a new book or going to a new restaurant or trying having a new experience. So those for me, those bring me excitement. But my baseline is I'm a pretty happy person. So
I think that's key too. You when you talk about excitement and happiness, I think, are you a happy person just in general? Do you thrive on being happy, or do you thrive on creating drama, or and I don't think that I'm that person.
No,
at all. I want to be happy. I want to have an easy, happy, and exciting life, But I also agree that happy and exciting are two different things. And happy to me is more calm and grounding than excitement is.
Right.
And happy to me is longer term. Excitement to me is and
short bursts.
You need those. You need those exciting moments, but you want to maintain a happy moment.
Yeah. I think one of the things that was really impactful for me about happiness was there's a book by the Dalai Lama called The Art of Happiness.
I love that book.
It's a great book. And it talks about you make a conscious choice to be happy. Now, obviously, the things that are in your world, economic status or health status and things like that are going to affect that. But at the same time, it's like, am I going to see the positive in life? Am I going to be a happy person? It really is a mindset. Just like you can have a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, I think you can have a happiness mindset. And that book just like completely changed my life and the way I looked at being happy.
Well, again, as you face day-to-day things, do you approach them with the goal of being happy? Or so to your point, choosing to have a happy mindset, it changes how you do everything.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like, do you smile? Do you, when you see someone in the hallway at work, do you smile at them? Do you make eye contact? Do you do the small kindnesses? Can I get you a cup of coffee? Can I, those things not only bring other people joy, but they bring you joy too.
Right.
So.
It almost made me laugh when you were talking about smiling. I always think of, as I get older, am I going to have happy crow's feet eyes or am I going to have frowny face lines? And I want to have the happy crow feet eyes. I don't want to have frowny mouth lines. You know what I mean?
gosh.
Yeah.
But I struggle with that because I have the resting bitch face. And so, and so I have the frowning lines just because I have resting bitch face. I can't help it.
I think I have both the frowny mouth and the crinkly happy eyes. I don't know.
I laugh a lot, so at least I got that.
Me too.
I think I laugh at myself a lot too. I'm like, look, why did I open the freezer? Like this morning, I'm like, I did open the freezer. And
What's that about?
Let me just laugh at myself. In a minute, I'll remember why I opened the freezer. But I agree that happiness to me is like that routine of like, I got my son on the bus and he didn't argue. And that kind of like, oh, okay, I pulled it off today. I like did it today and like walked the dog and everything was good, and the work was good and I got everything done. But excitement for me is, and I kind of want to explore this a bit more. Like sometimes that excitement comes from those things that I'm planning to do. And I want to find more excitement into that day to day, like trying a new restaurant, doing those like small little excitement things. So for me, like I'll plan a trip. Like we went to Disney and I like that was like pulling me through it. I'm like, that one thing shouldn't pull me through. Because as you know, we went to Disney and like my son got incredibly sick. And then like the first, so it didn't live up to the first 3 days were horrid because he was throwing up everywhere.
It really was terrible.
And so like, I do consider myself a happy person, but I also want to be excited too. And find those little moments of excitement, like not put all my excitement on this one thing that's going to happen to me 4 months from now, but where are those little moments of excitement I can keep finding, like the little spark? And it doesn't have to be big. Like there's a restaurant I keep passing. I'm like, I really want to try that one day. I need to stop the car and go in and do it. So deliberately finding those moments of newness and excitement and not just wait for that one big trip that I've been planning for and saving for forever, because the universe will go, ha ha ha, your son is sick,
right, Right. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's interesting that you put it that way, both of you, because what I was thinking about is, my husband and I have sort of a routine that we do on the weekends. And many people might think it sounds mundane and boring, but it's something that we always do. And then every now and then we're like, well, instead of this same restaurant we always go to, let's go to a different one. Or well, when we're done with this little routine we always do, let's go find a new thrift shop to find, just little thing like that. And so again, it sounds small, but it's just, I like having those routine things that we do, that we enjoy doing, that slow us down a little bit to recover from the week. And to enjoy each other's company and to have a set, calm, happy time. But then throw in an extra little thing here and there. And I know we have a friend, Heather, and I love, they always find something new to do on the weekends. Like they have things that they always do. And it's small things, like you said. It doesn't have to be our 2 trips a year that we take. But just finding a new little day trip or an afternoon at a different spot or something. And so I agree. I think that's the difference between the happiness and the excitement.
Definitely.
And think about like when we were in our 20s, it was all about like going out, and like now it's just like we love our routine. We love those nights in, just doing something whatever quiet, and then I love how it's evolved, and I don't miss that time at all. I don't look back and go, oh, I wish I'd lived that life. That life looks exhausting. And I wasn't happy. I was trying to be happy. I was trying to find that. And now I'm like, I'm truly happy. I am at home with my son and we're watching, something together and we're talking about it. I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So I know we're short on time, so I want to bring us to one final question. And it's a big one, but we'll see what we do with it. So what do you want your life to be like? So, we're now in our 50s, you look ahead and we're thinking like 70, 80, 90. What are you looking forward to? What are you hoping for when you get there?
Well, what I'm hoping for is that my mental capacity doesn't decline. And that's sort of a crapshoot, like it doesn't run in my mother's family at all. And now we're faced with her losing her memory very quickly. And I would not have thought that.
Right.
Whereas it does run in my father's family, and he didn't have that at all.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so I always thought it was genetic and I had a 50-50 chance. But now I look at this situation we're in with my mom. So what I hope for is that I don't experience that. What I want to now work towards, because I never had to think about it when I was young, I thought I had all the time in the world, is to remain physically well and mobile in particular, because my father lost a lot of his mobility as he got older, and I saw that, and I'm like, I want to be able to get up and down out of the chair. I want to be able to walk around on the beach, and then financially work towards being able to live comfortably, or as comfortably as possible, without any kind of poverty or
just worry.
And to live somewhere that I want to live. Like, I want to go back to the beach and live there,
so I can visit.
So everyone can come visit, and at least have one extra bedroom. So
yes, have a guest room.
Yes.
But yeah, those are the things that as I'm faced with getting older, and as we've all acknowledged, we're looking at that in our parents at the moment. Those are the things that I saw with them that I want to either change or mimic or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we have greater challenges as we get older, and I think our kids may face the same thing because of the advances in medical care. We are living so much longer. So when I was a kid, somebody being in their 60s, oh gosh, they're so old.
Yeah.
I am 3 years away from 60.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And that has, because of the medical advances, because of the way our population is aging slower, I feel like 60 is middle-aged,
right? Right.
So given all of that, I'm hoping I will be healthy. I'm hoping a lot of the same answers that you gave, Jen, of especially mentally. That's like physical disability I don't want, but I would rather have physical disability than mental disability because my mom was really sharp up until about the last year she was alive, and she started to decline at that point. My dad, on the other hand, it was a good 6 to 7 year battle with dementia. And watching him go through that and losing all of what he had worked for, he was a very proud man. He had a doctorate.
Right.
I'm so scared of going down the path, So a lot of what I do, reading, trying to have new experiences, walking, being as physical as I can, those are so important to keeping your brain healthy. And so, that for me is always front of mind.
One of the challenges I think we face too with living a longer life, it bleeds into the financial concerns because we need more money if we're going to live longer, which is why they're pushing the retirement age back, because Social Security can't pay more for longer periods of time. I mean, I get that, but at the same time, I still want to retire at 65, and I'm not going to be able to.
No,
right.
No. Well, and I mean, I've said this before on the show when we've had kind of financial conversations, is that not partially, all of it is my fault. I didn't start saving early enough.
Right.
And so I'm not going to be able to retire early. I'm going to have to work past retirement age just because financially I won't be able to do it otherwise.
Right.
And we also have to be realistic in that we spend the most amount of medical care in the last year we're alive.
Yeah.
And so you're going to plow through it at that point.
Right.
So having that kind of financial cushion is so important.
And our generation, it wasn't standard in a job to give you a pension and a retirement and all of that. Whereas, I mean, my mom lives comfortably because she had, worked for the state and has, a great pension. My husband's mother, same way. She didn't work for the state, but the company she worked for provided a long-term pension, and they don't do that anymore.
No.
That's why one of the things I'm actually doing, which I haven't even shared with you guys, is I'm in the process of changing jobs, which you guys know, but I'm like, I want someone who knows financial to sit down with me. I want to say, here is me. Make it right. Make me the right path, because I've never been trained on that. And we've all just kind of like figured it out as we go. And, I have debt, and I'm trying to save for retirement, and I'm saving for my son's college, and I don't know what I'm doing. And my honesty is I'm coming up, and I want someone to sit down with me. So my bank offers free financial counseling, and I'm actually setting an appointment to have them just go through and say, here's what you need to do. This money goes here and this money goes there. That's what I want. I want that level of honesty, because I know that retirement is going to watching my parents kind of go through their money so quickly. It spooks you. I mean, it really spooks you to your core. You're like, I got to get this right. So I want someone to sit down and say, I'm going to help you get this right.
I think one of the things too that we need to think creatively, and I've seen more conversations online about this, of living communally as you age, because our options at the moment are you either stay in the home that you've been living in, or you end up in either retirement facility or a nursing home. And skilled nursing and retirement communities are going to eat through your money incredibly quickly. Yes. So it makes much more financial sense to find an accessible home and share it with people that you can age in place.
That's my plan. I hope y'all want to live with me. I hope I deserve to live with you. Because
are you going to buy a house at the beach?
I don't know. Maybe I will. My dad was in assisted living at the end, and it was $5,000 a month. Yeah. And it had a roach problem, and it was horrid. And I'm like, I don't want this to be me. I don't want this to be my life. I'd rather be in a house with all my friends, and we're just looking after each other. It needs to be single story. No one goes up the stairs, that kind of thing. But yes, the communal, I think, is going to have to be part of my destiny. So
yeah, I agree.
Well, this has been fun. I mean, it's been a little deep, but it's been fun. Thank you, ladies, for indulging me on answering some questions.
Sure, thank you for asking them.
So I asked some probing questions there, it seems.
Yes.
How did you think of my questions, Sass?
Oh, I think they were great. I think some of them are hard. You know, even on the surface, when you look at something like, what makes you feel alive and most present in your life? That's a fairly straightforward question, but it's also a really hard question to answer.
I didn't realize how hard it was, but it was also hard for me to answer too. So but you should know your answer. And your loved one should know your answer too. So yeah, definitely.
I think part of it, and I think what occurred to me as we were having the conversation with Jen, was that a lot of the things that we have as big questions at this point in our lives are kind of thrust upon us.
Right.
And it's not something that we probably could have addressed as well when we were in our 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. As we've become more mature, one, we have more life experience to draw upon, but also it's kind of like these things are happening to us.
Right,
our parents are aging, our bodies are changing, our kids are growing up and dealing with a lot of stuff that we never had to deal with in life. So I think that we're being forced to have these kinds of reflective moments.
And in a big way, this is why we're doing this podcast. This podcast is all about, it's not... I actually said this the other day. I said, it's not like down with you boomers and down. It's what the boomers did was lovely because they did what they needed to do. But for us, we need to make sure that we are making choices that meet our needs and own up to us and not, my mom did it this way, so I'm going to do it this way. That's lovely if it works for you. But if it doesn't work for you, then you need to revisit that and figure out why and find your why. Mm-hmm. And it's like, here's an example, and it sounds so petty, but it kind of hits on larger things. My family had set things of how we did the holidays. Like we did the holidays a certain way. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't want to do it that way. Like Christmas Day, my family always did sausage biscuits, and I'm like, that's what their thing is. I really don't like sausage biscuit. I don't like that. And so now I do something very differently. Mm-hmm. My son wants to eat something different. I eat something different. We do something different. And my parents would call and go, hey, have you made your sausage biscuits? I'm like, no, I'm not going to have that. And so when my dad would come over, I would make his, and I would do, and he was like, why aren't you doing this? This is what we do. I'm a grown ass woman, and I have things that I like, and and that was the way you did it, and it was lovely, and I honored that. But I'm going to do it my way, and I think now, being reflective, it's now the time to figure out what is your way and do it, and don't make excuses. It's your way. It's okay that that's how you did it later on, but it doesn't. What you eat Christmas morning doesn't. It's a small little example, but in your life, you need to think, this is who I am. I'm going to own up to it. It all is my life is my responsibility, and I'm going to do what works for me. And it's okay if you don't like it, but this is how this works.
Right, exactly. And I think that we also have to acknowledge that the world's changing,
Yes.
and we have to adapt to that. So our conversations and our questions are going to be different than our grandparents.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. That's just the evolution of the human species.
Right.
So.
And I just hope that my son feels empowered to like, hey, Mom, we did this, but I'm going to do you. You do you.
You do you, boo.
You do you, boo. But it's important to like take the time to be reflective and just go, is this working for me? If this isn't working for me, let's change it up.
I agree.
Am I happy? If I'm unhappy, let's change it. Do it.
Definitely. So if you haven't joined us on our social media platforms, I encourage you to go out and follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And we would love to hear your reflective questions. Tell us what you're thinking about. Thanks for listening, y'all. Thank you for joining us for Free Range Flock. Our goal is to inspire and celebrate who we are, the Generation X kids who grew up and decided to do things their way, with grace, humor, and joy. This has been a production of Sassy-Am. If you want to learn more about our podcast, follow our blog, share your positive insights about being a free ranger, or to suggest topics or guests for future episodes, please visit our website at sassayam.com. That's SASSAYAM.com. Keep pushing.